Before we jump into the next clip, I just want to tell you real quick, we got a new audio network. Go to tyt.com/audio and get all of our new podcasts. James Gunn was the director of Guardians of the Galaxy. I say was because he was recently let go by Disney because of a controversy online regarding some very old tweets that he sent. Now, he came up through an area where he did shock humor and did some entertainment that was more schlocky as well. And he wrote some tweets that were definitely considered offensive today. He has apologized for them. And people think, well, that's it, that's the whole story. No, that is not the whole story. Let me tell you what actually happened so that you have the proper context. First of all, there are a lot of people who understand the context and a lot of people who worked with him who are now rallying to his defense. So they too are being attacked, which is part of the game plan, as I will outline to you. So Selma Blair is one of the people who are supporting him, worked with him in the past. So she sent out this tweet encouraging people to sign a petition to get him rehired by Disney. By the way, this morning, it's probably now much higher, but that petition already had over 170,000 signatures. Now, the reason for that is not because people necessarily know all of James Gunn's track record, but those people understand where these attacks came from and why conceding to those attacks is a terrible, terrible idea. Give you some background on Blair. HuffPost writes, Selma Blair, a victim of sexual harassment, who was encouraged by Gunn to step forward in her claims against director James Toback as the Me Too movement gained steam. Thank Gunn for decency and your evolution as a man. She went on to write, I thank you for your talent, your decency, and your evolution. You propped me up when I was in a scary place and guided me towards the decent and right thing to do. You have shown strength of character more than most anyone I know. You understood. So his actions showed that he was actually incredibly supportive of women. And so others in the industry are defending him, including Patton Oswalt, and now they are being viciously attacked by a smear machine on the right. And so these are over, by the way, old jokes. Now you can say the jokes were off color, they were offensive, and that's what James Gunn says. And he agrees with you on that, and that's why he does not stand by them. But they were clearly jokes. Nobody thinks that he was being serious. So the guy who took them seriously on purpose is Mike Cernovich. So he is a leading alt-right figure. Sometimes he says he's alt-right, sometimes he says he's alt-light. I don't really care. He's a right-winger who revels in this kind of smears and has done it over and over again to people like Sam Seder, Patton Oswalt, myself, and the list goes on. So he feigns concern about rape and pedophilia. Those are his go-to moves. So since the jokes of James Gunn were on those topics, Mike Cernovich pretends to care deeply. Now let's find out Mike Cernovich's real opinions on the issues. He once wrote, rape via an alpha male is different from other forms of rape. We can't really understand this as our culture is too detached from instinct. So apparently, if you consider yourself an alpha male, that is a different kind of rape and is what, permissible? This is the guy pretending to be concerned. Buckle up. I mean, we're at the tip of this iceberg. I'm going to show you a lot of the iceberg. There's way too many outrageous quotes to give you all, but there's going to give you plenty so you get a sense of who this guy is. Now he mixes in race here. He says, today we have a moment of silence for Trayvon Martin's rape victims. Kidding, he got before he was able to rape anyone. Now, why would you presume that Trayvon Martin, who was 17 years old, was going to rape anyone? I think the answer is very, very obvious. But by the way, he wrote kidding in the middle of that tweet. Should everyone fire him from everything ever because he just made a rape joke? Interesting. It almost seems like he's hypocritical, to say the least. Here's him making more racial comments. Not being a slut is the only proven way to avoid AIDS. If you love black women, slut shame them. Now, look, there's so many things offensive about that tweet, but understand that what he's mainly saying is he's implying that black men have AIDS, so you would be helping black women if you slut shame them and make sure they don't sleep with black men who presumably have AIDS. Now, you can say, oh no, and he will. Oh, I meant all men. What? Okay, look, let's just keep going because there's too much to analyze any one tweet too much. Then he goes for anti-Semitism. I don't know if you've seen this on Twitter, but the alt-right was putting 3 parentheses around Jewish writers' names. It is despicable. It's called Echo. He defended, of course. So he says Echo exists because people got tired of seeing we white people are evil and oppress blacks. Speak as Jews, not whites. Honesty. Okay. So he's saying, I'm just labeling the Jews because they're not really white and they shouldn't speak for whites. Okay, that's Cernovich. Now, you might have heard of Pizzagate. Huge proponent of Pizzagate, and by the way, all he does is lie. So in the beginning, Pizzagate and Podesta and Clinton, and they've got a pedophile ring. That's his favorite go-to move. Accuse every one of his opponents of being a pedophile, and you'll see why in a second. And then later when a guy goes in and shoots up the place, he's like, no, I never did Pizzagate. Okay, here's one of, wait, actually before I get to that, let me give you more on his real views on rape, okay? So he says, do a Google image search for alliance mating. That's basically rape, and it's also the natural form of sex. So period, stop. Anyone who gets a call from Mike Cernovich who says, oh, I have a scoop for you, I'm really outraged about rape or pedophilia. The correct answer is no thank you, hang up, okay? He did Pizzagate, he does these conspiracies all the time. You're a fool to trust him. Because even if he gives you the correct tweets, he purposely mangles the context. And he does it on purpose. So any guy who calls me who said that, pretending to be concerned about rape, the correct answer is immediately hang up. Why are we having a conversation? Because people like Disney, MSNBC, and the Sam Cedar situation react. And they go, oh my God, Cernovich said something, fire someone. Are you nuts? This is one of the worst people on earth. More from him. He says, the hotter the sex, the more closely it resembles rape. I mean, and he says he plays a quote, anti-rape game. Oh boy. He says, after abusing a girl, I always immediately send a text and save her reply. By the way, you're not gonna be shocked to find out that he, of course, was accused of rape. And then he bragged about how he hired a private investigator to go after the victim so that he could get out of the charge. Okay, never went to court on it, so not convicted. He was able to successfully intimidate the witness and the victim. Now, on to his strategy. He says that the right way to go is to create compelling spectacle using conflict, use trolling tactics to build his brand. All right, well, we go to those aforementioned trolling tactics. In the case of Pizzagate, he had gone after John Podesta, and it was his idea that he was running a pedophile ring out of a pizza parlor shop. This insanity. How does anyone take this guy's call? How does anyone take him seriously? Okay, he said pedophile Podesta won't concede tonight. Thought it was Trump who wouldn't concede. Hashtag election night. Now this is a theme that he returns to over and over again. Then he says Salon published pro-pedophilia articles. It is platform for pedophiles. Time to write investors. Why do they fund money-losing company? Anyone who disagrees with him is a pedophile. Anyone who supports anyone who disagrees with him supports pedophilia. Did Salon write pro-pedophilia articles? Of course not. He also accused the BBC of running things that were pro-pedophilia. Why? Because he doesn't like the BBC. Then he went after, by the way, conservative publications that didn't agree with him. He says the National Review supports pedophilia. It doesn't matter. The truth is irrelevant, as he's going to explain himself in a second. Then he went after Republican senators that were not sufficiently loyal to Donald Trump, including Ben Sasse of Nebraska. He said, whoa, Ben Sasse's pedophile connections keep going deeper. On and on and on. It's the same MO every single time, and the one he used against James Gunn. And why did he do it? He said, oh, I didn't like that he was criticizing Donald Trump. And they didn't like what the reaction to the actor Mark Duplass when he said he likes Ben Shapiro. They're like, oh yeah? That's it, we're gonna destroy you. Okay, well, at least you're clear. Now, Jesse Singal had written a piece about him and in New York Magazine, and so he struck back against him. I hope you're sitting. Guess what he called him? He says, I'm 100% sure Jesse Singal is a sexual predator. He has all the telltale signs of a date rapist. It's no end to it. So then, but this is the important part. He then bragged on Twitter that he's doing it on purpose. He wrote, Jesse Singal is a sexual predator. I can get that on page 1 of Google in due time. Now he knows that Singal is not. He just wrote a piece about Cernovich that he didn't like. So that's him basically bragging. I can ruin this guy's reputation by lying about him as long as I get it into page 1 of Google. That's what he does. And yet people take attacks from him seriously. Okay, he explains his method. He says, to beat a person, you lower his or her social status. And what's the best way to lower anyone's social status? Just call him a pedophile, call him a sexual predator. Now, if you happen to support those guys who actually are, who cares? Why? And if they're not actually sexual predators or pedophiles, who cares? Here's another why. Here's another quote from Cernovich. Quote, logic is pointless. Doesn't have to be logical. It doesn't have to be true. It just has to work. And companies like Disney keep on helping him by saying, oh my God, I'm so concerned about what Mike Cernovich has found. Let's go fire someone. Okay. Now, the anatomy of a hit job. Vic Berger is a guy who went after him on Twitter. So he decided he was going to go after Vic Berger. So what does he do? Of course, charges of pedophilia. Totally unsubstantiated, made out of whole cloth like every single time. So then Vic Berger says, I'm not a child molester, as anyone would say. And then Cernovich turns that around and goes, the whiner doth protest too much, methinks. So you accuse him of being a child molester. He says, I'm not a child molester. You go, aha, so you must be. But it works for his alt-right lunatics who sometimes show up with guns. He then goes on and says, as they did in the Pizzagate situation, he says, life tip for Vic Berger. When you have to tell people you're not a child molester, you've gone wrong in life, please get help. Now, wait a minute, you have to constantly tell people that you're not a rapist, Mike Cernovich, because you've been accused of rape and you have at least half a dozen quotes where you celebrate rape. You want to explore your life choices? And in this case, you made up that charge against them. You made him deny it, and after you denied it, you go, examine your life choices, I got you. Okay. And then, of course, on the Vic Berger situation, he says, there is an active pedophile ring being run on Twitter. Yes, I heard you and got your tips. Department of Justice, etc., under Trump have been alerted. And by the way, these guys are brown shirts. So if you think that the Department of Justice under Trump won't one day act on these so-called tips, you might want to think again. These are scary times with these monsters that go around and have access to power. So now, another part of the MO is if you dare support anyone he has falsely accused, he will lump you in with them. So as a tweet with a whole bunch of perfectly innocent people who are decent human beings, and he writes, these are quote unquote mainstream people, all of them came to the defense of an admitted pedophile. And so don't you dare ever defend anyone I have attacked, otherwise I will say that you came to the defense of a pedophile and I will smear you and try to get that on page 1 of Google and I'll do my tactics against you. Now, does he know any people who might support pedophilia? Actually, Milo Yiannopoulos lost everything because on Joe Rogan's podcast, he seemed to turn a blind eye to pedophilia. So what does Cernovich have to say against him? Is he gonna be tough against Milo? Instead, he says this, Cernovich calls Yiannopoulos one of the only guys other than me who's doing social media right. The only guy who actually was involved in a pedophilia scandal. Like Cernovich is like, that guy's got it totally right. The ones I falsely accused, how dare you? Immediately fire them. Finally, back to the issue of whether Cernovich actually cares about sexual assault. One more quote for you. He said, when's the last time women organized to support a men's rights issue? Stop being, and I gotta read it for you because it's word that he used. He said, stop being fags. Who cares about breast cancer and rape? Not me. That's Cernovich. Whenever you see an attack against someone, you have to do a couple of things. Because right now, I'm afraid, and especially the media, removes the attack from outside of its context and then by definition makes it deeply misleading. You have to say, where did the attack come from? Why did it come? And what is the context of it? So, by the way, this happens in politics all the time, not to this degree of lies and insanity and the cruelty that Cernovich and the other alt-right guys use. But they'll do oppo research, and then the media will report it. There's great candidates that will have investigations of them. No investigation ever gets done of their opponent. And then people, especially in the media, will report that one attack, and they'll go, oh my God, look at this one guy who's terrible. Well, how come you didn't investigate the other guys? And who asked you to investigate that guy? Who gave you that information in the first place? And oftentimes it is opposition research from other campaigns, but the media never tells you that. By the way, not only Republicans, but Democrats do that as well. And they most especially do it against progressives. So I'm asking you as the audience, whenever you see something like this, and if you're in the media business, for God's sake, write the context. That's supposed to be your job. Where did the attack come from? In this case, it clearly came from the alt-right. Why did they do it? Not because they're actually concerned about any of the issues that James Gunn joked about. It's because they think that this is the number way to smear him and to get him fired. And that the context is not that, hey, is James Gunn's tweets from 9, 10, some 14 years ago a big problem as to what he actually believes? No. I mean, look, the Sam Seder case was the perfect case. Sam Seder went after a pedophile. He went after Roman Polanski, but he joked about it. In how he went after Roman Polanski, Cernovich pretended that Sam Seder was not joking and that was supporting Polanski, the exact opposite of what Sam Seder was saying. So MSNBC fired Sam Seder, why? Because corporations panic. Oh my God, somebody attacked, and they fired him. And later we all fought back, and for that, by the way, I was also attacked. Also totally out of context. And I'm gonna say one last thing about that in a second. But we did defend him, and we're defending James Gunn right now because it is our job to give you that context. And I want you in the audience to understand that context. And so one last part of the context is, when they go to old tweets and they twist them, or even if they don't twist them, it's because they got nothing else. So they went after Sam Seder and twisted a tweet that he wrote to mean the opposite, because you think they didn't try to go after Sam Seder in 100 other ways? They did. But apparently Sam, bless his heart, leads a really boring life. And so, look, you could get almost anybody on anything. And all they had on Sam was a twisted tweet. That's it, nothing. For us, they're like, oh, we're gonna get these guys in the Me Too movement. They call every woman at the Young Turks, right? They get nothing. They look at all of our stuff, and man, we have tens of thousands of videos. They get nothing. So what do? Oh, I got an idea. Remember when Cenk was a Republican? He was a prick like us. So let's go see if he said things that were bad back in the day. So they went and found things from decades ago, and things that I had deleted over 10 years ago. Why? Not when I got caught, but when I looked at them, I'm like, no, that's not me. And I deleted them, right? They're like, oh, we found them from the Wayback Machine and etc. You know what that means, guys? And look, it's easy for me to say because it's about me, but you could say it about any of these guys. They went to that because they couldn't get anything else. So when you see a charge, it isn't about me or Sam or even James Gunn. When you see the next charge, understand that these guys went and tried to get him on everything and they couldn't. And all they could find in the case of James Gunn was really old tweets. That doesn't mean that he did any of those things. Actually, ironically, it means he didn't. Young Turks. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.